What you vaping, mate?
Okay, we are live. We are live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Arsenal 101 Premier League review. I'm joined tonight by Drew and Neil, and we should be getting Andy and potentially Dave coming on a bit later. I hope everyone is well. How you doing, Neil?
I'm doing good, mate. I'm doing good. As I was just saying before, just watch the Newcastle game. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who's looking to watch it after this, but it's a pretty good game, Newcastle Leeds.
Excellent. And Drew, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Apart from my advanced years are finally starting to catch up with my old ass. So, but apart from that, I'm good.
For everybody in the chat room, 18, I'm good, bro. Hope you are well too. Loving the constant follows. Apollo is in the back. He's not at home today, so he's doing all the technical stuff remotely. So big shout out to you, Apollo. Thanks for doing that.
Good luck with that, Apollo.
So I guess we're going to start off with a review of last week. And I don't know if you got the graphic and are able to pull that up for me, Apollo. But I wanted to just touch with the guys on last week's results. Obviously, as an Arsenal fan, I'm gonna kick that one off because we were the first to kick off the weekend on the Saturday morning against Norwich. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty. That would be my summation of the game. But we got the result, and onwards and upwards. Hopefully, we'll be now starting to see the beginning of a group of games where Arsenal can ascend the table. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. I don't think it is. I'm very much a keeping it real kind of guy, and my expectations for the season, as I mentioned at the beginning of this season, are no greater than potentially 7th or 8th in the table. Honestly, so looking back at that result, that is a huge result for us against what is going to be the whipping boys of the division. But we've got Burnley tomorrow, and we're away, so I'm kind of just thinking hopefully a win. But I probably got to be honest and say it looks more like a draw tomorrow. But we'll get into the games for next week. But yeah, for last week's game, I was not overly excited about what I had seen. I think we barely got over the line. And welcome Bertram. Or Stan Kroenke, as you're showing up down there.
Can you hear me?
Alex?
That's my new name because I spend money.
Silent Stan is in the house, indeed. Nice
I've
to
spent
see
half
Alex from Callum Fodder in the house.
Huh?
Good to see Alex from Callum Fodder in the house. If you're not following his account, breaking news. Any Alex? I have a bit of a thing with Alex and his breaking news. Andy, welcome. How you doing?
How you doing, man? All right.
Yeah, we got you at a different angle today.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm in a different room.
You've been cast out, Andy.
No, we've got the in-laws staying, so I'm in a different room.
All right, good. Cool, Ken. Nice to see you in the chat. So yeah, I've given my my it wasn't pretty synopsis of the Arsenal game. I don't want to say too much about it, but it wasn't pretty. Anyone else want to chime in on that game?
So I'm going to ask a question of the panel, which is, I hear an AFT there saying the kids are Arsenal safe.
You see all the excitement everyone has to talk about Arsenal Norwich.
No, but I'm not talking about Arsenal Norwich. I'm asking a question, actually. The question is, do you guys believe that the kids are the savior for Arsenal?
No.
No, because I heard someone on AFTV saying that. What
Go
what
ahead,
what are your
Drew.
thoughts, Andy?
Go ahead, Drew. Let's let Drew just expand on that.
The thing is, right, Arsenal have got a very talented group of young players. There's no denying that. Saka is, let's face it, he's the crown jewel in all of the young players that Arsenal have got. If I hear the words, though, one more time from an Arsenal fan, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful now, but if I hear the words one more time about how good Martinelli is, I am literally going to donkey punch someone. Martinelli looks brilliant, but he's only ever fit for 2 to 3 weeks at a time. Then he's back injured. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you're continually injured, you've got a problem. The other massive issue that I'm just seeing there at the moment, I keep hearing, Arteta tactically not sound. I get that. Arteta isn't tactically sound as a manager, but the players that Edu's brought in, it's a scattergun approach to how to buy players to bulk out a team, not how to build a team. So I don't get Arsenal's recruitment strategy. They've got lots of good kids, but if the veteran players that they bring in aren't good enough, how the hell are these kids going to learn how to win games, let alone a trophy?
So
Exactly.
can I come in on that one? Because obviously I was particularly reticent to get involved in any transfer talk this summer because I frankly have got no respect for the current personnel who are in charge of recruitment for Arsenal. And it's not just that the current group of people at the club, it's historically for about the last 10 years. We have recruited absolutely atrociously. And the people in the boardroom who've been giving out contracts to players really need to be shot and sent to some graveyard for bad mismanagement. And it plays itself in and out every summer, which is why I've just basically said, I'm not dealing with this anymore. These bunch of idiots do not deserve my time and my concentration. And I see fans going ballistically happy 1 minute and then they're depressed the next minute. And then they go ballistically happy the next minute and then they're depressed the next minute. And I can't play that game. It's emotional turmoil. And quite simply, Arsenal are shopping in Waitrose. Yeah. But the problem is, right, we're spending Gucci money. Because Stan Kroenke, for all the stuff that people are saying, silent Stan, we spent more money than any other club in the Premier League this summer. So we're spending Gucci money, but we're buying Waitrose players.
I thought Waitrose was a good thing, Tony.
Waitrose is a good place. It's
You
a good
mean,
place,
you mean Lidl players?
or Aldi.
I don't want to call them little players, Andy, because I do believe we have every year we manage to buy something of worth. So Thomas Partey for me is a good player. Nicolas Pepe is a good player. Martin Odegaard is a good player. Is he the player that is going to elevate this team to be top 4 or even, should I dare say it, a Champions League contender? Hell no.
Interesting perspective. So I'll say a couple of things. There's a reason why I asked the question. Because I think I've said in this forum before, not this forum, but in another forum, 101 forum, where I said, I am not happy with the kids in totality. And I get grief from people. And I smile. There are two things I look at in football. There's the optics and there are the stats. And you got to look at both. So yes, Saka is a beautiful player. Look great on the field. So does Odegaard and so does Smith Rowe. So here are some stats. Because if you want to get relegated, you play those three together. The three have played 105 games and have 9 goals and 14 assists in the Premier League. Let me repeat. 9 goals in 105 games. If you want to go to the championship, those are the production you would want. I don't care how they good look on paper. They're not creating. They have 14 assists. They're not creating enough goals and assists for you to do really well. And by the way, all three play in advanced positions. So if you were to equate that out, take those numbers.
Bertram, what's their
Right.
average age?
Huh?
What's their average age? 19?
Andy, and that's the problem I have with that comment. Here's the problem I have with that comment. So if you're 19 and you're not producing, then you need to be on the bench and watch so you can produce. I'm sorry. We're in the immediate results business. Now, if you want to have a long-term strategy and you want to be mid-table, then that's fine. You can blend them in and have them be part of that core and bring them through the ranks. You want to be like but you're not like a Dortmund. A Dortmund compete in the Bundesliga. We're not competing currently. And these stats are going to get you relegated or mid-table. Your fans base going to be frustrated. Because those three play a lot of games and they play in advanced positions. They're not playing center half. They're not playing right back or left back. They're playing either in the 10 or out wide. You can't afford to play all three of them.
Of those,
Okay, so
105 games, Bertram, how many of them have they started? And how many?
Andy, brilliant questions. Brilliant questions, Andy. I love that. I love the insights of it. So for Saka, the first part of his career was more at a wing back, left back situation. So you can take off, say, 15 of those games. Last year, almost all his games he started up front. 30 plus games, and he had 5 goals in 30 plus games. That's 1 in 6. Now Pepe has 15 in 63.
But in a poor team.
Wait. Pepe had 10 in 31 last year, 10 in 32, whatever it is. Right? And people are calling for Saka more than Pepe. Here's my point. I'm not knocking the kid, but I'm saying if you want to compete with the Spurs and the Chelsea and the Man City, you can't afford to play all 3 kids. You can't. They don't score enough goals for you to do that. This is a result business, an outcome business. It's not a, you know what, they look good in paper business and I'm blending them through. So I was done with that soliloquy, but I'm saying people have to take a chill pill and think through the stats before you start advocating that we play all 3 continuously and the Arsenal save it. Because right now they're not saving us.
But Bertram, stats are not everything. Please. I do get annoyed when people just look at stats and don't actually watch football matches.
So, Andy, here's the thing, Andy. You can play beautiful all you want.
Arsenal never score a goal again. It doesn't bother me.
Andy, we scored 51 goals last season, Andy. We still up 50 goals last season. We've scored 1 goal this season. Goals win matches.
Hey, listen, just listen 1 second. Listen.
Okay.
You talk. The point I'm saying, like I say, I don't care what happens with Arsenal, right? It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't bother me if they don't score another goal this season. What I'm saying is, to put a bit of perspective in it, you have got some very good young players. However, they need to be in a team that has some form of structure and has some form of leadership in order to bring those players on. And your team at the moment, and don't worry, Spurs have had plenty of their own problems in this regard, right? Your team at the moment doesn't have any leadership in it. You don't have a Tony Adams anymore. You don't have a Martin Keown. You don't have a Patrick Vieira or a Thierry Henry or people that are going to drag the team by the scruff of the neck through difficult games. You don't have that. And therefore, those 19, 20, 18, 19, 20-year-olds who have a lot of the potential and a lot of talent are not being brought on in the way they should be because you are not giving them the opportunity to develop. Now, Spurs have also been guilty of the same thing over the years. But you have to see, you can't single out when someone like Saka goes and plays for England and is the best player on the pitch. You can't tell me that he's not a good player. I'm sorry, he is a good player.
But Andy, you're misquoting me. Andy, you're misquoting me. Andy, you're misquoting me. Go back to what I just said. You're misquoting me. You're misquoting me. I said they have potential. I said they look good. I said they're not productive. And you can't dispute that.
Well, I disagree that they're not productive. What I'm saying that you can produce. I know people. You can produce 100 chances. If someone doesn't take them at the other on the other side, then you're missing that stat. They're not getting an assist because somebody else has failed to score a goal.
That argument would make would be agreeable if that fact that those 3 are offensive players. So they're giving assists, they're giving them to each other. Or do they send forward?
He's always an offensive player. He has been more.
Most times he has been over the last year. Most time he has been. In the last year, most times he's only played wing back once or twice. He's being in an offensive position. Odegaard only plays the 10. Smith Rowe either play the 8 or he's playing out wide. or he's playing the 10. Their offense. Look, we don't want to spend the whole evening talking about those. I'm making a point to people, which is take things in moderation. Think before you think about, well, you know what? They're going to be our savior. They're not there yet. They're potential. And all three should be playing together because our goal scoring over the last 3 years has been atrocious.
So I'm just gonna cut that argument and finish it for life, because here's your scenario, Bertram. Last year, when Arsenal played Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Willian up front in the Premier League, we were shit and couldn't score for love nor money and were all over the place. Finally, Mikel Arteta saw sense and brought in Smith Rowe, Saka, and Pepe, and we ascended the table. I know you like to pull your stats out, but I know which of them which free punch combination I'm going to prefer, and it ain't the one with Willian.
Tony, no one talked about Willian.
Argument done.
What, Tony? No one talked about Willian. You're missing the point I'm trying to make, people.
No. Bertram,
What point I'm trying to make, Tony? What point I'm trying to make? What point I'm trying to make?
What is the alternative to the youngsters? Who in the Arsenal team would you prefer to play?
So here's my point.
No, just answer the question. Who in the Arsenal squad of players would you prefer to play instead of Odegaard, Saka, and Smith Rowe?
I'd probably start with make sure I have Pepe and Aubameyang or Lacazette all the time in 2 positions at a minimum. I would only play Smith Rowe, and I wouldn't play Smith Rowe in the 8 like he's been played. I wouldn't play Odegaard in the 8 like we did against City. I would only play 2 of the 3 or 2 of the 4, which includes Martinelli. Never play more than 2. First of all, they don't play defense.
So sorry,
second of all, they don't score enough goals.
So I'll give you 3 players, and you've come back to me with 2 players.
Okay.
That don't make sense. That's not an argument.
No. Which 3 players? You mentioned Pepe. I never mentioned Pepe. I have Pepe's stats here. He's 15 and 63. I didn't mention Pepe. Pepe's part of the people I think should be on the field.
All right.
I never mentioned Pepe as being a kid. And Pepe is 26. He's not a kid.
All right.
Okay,
so,
anyway. Next
moving
topic.
back onto the game from last week. Thank you for your intro there, Stan Kroenke.
Anyway, we've talked about the 19th v 20th battle. How about the other 18 teams in the Premier League?
Okay, Andy. So let's talk about Crystal Palace's fantastic win against the mighty Lilywhites of North London. Go ahead.
Andy, you can take that, Andy. Go ahead, Andy. You can take that.
I walked into that one. Okay.
Go on, son.
Yeah, nothing shy of an atrocious performance. There's not really much you can say about that. The team was decimated because we didn't have Sanchez or Lo Celso or Romero because they were quarantining. We lost. We didn't have Son. We're never any good when we don't have Son. And we didn't have Dyer went off after 10 minutes, and then Tanganga got sent off. So basically, without Sanchez, Romero, Dyer, and Tanganga, which are our 4 first choice centre backs, the score was still 0-0 when Tanganga got sent off. But we just capitulated, and you can't capitulate like that in the manner we did. We didn't look like scoring in the entire match. And we were playing Crystal Palace. It's not like we were playing, Man City or Chelsea or Man United or someone. We were playing Crystal Palace, a team who we've beaten pretty much every time for 7 years, the last 7 years, home and away. Fair play to them. Palace were excellent on the day, and they deserved the victory. But we weren't good enough. We weren't at the races. Next.
I mean, I was just going to say, I only got 2 predictions right all of last weekend, and this was one of them.
Drew, I think Andy's thing was very short. I like him to elaborate on some of these points he's making about his glorious Spurs, since we are in 18th place, and they played Crystal Palace, who was struggling. I didn't watch the game, and they got blasted. In fact, they look like Arsenal.
Someone's got to be down there.
Really did, yeah.
Sorry, Drew. Go ahead.
I mean, to be honest, and Andy might actually disagree with this. I'd say it's probably the worst I've seen Palace play this season in large swathes of the game. A lot of Spurs' problems were of their own making, but Dyer going off after, 11 minutes. Their one experienced centre-back that they had in the squad on the day, it made it a difficult game to build a base in for them. And then when Tanganga got himself sent off, which it was Russia blood to the head kind of moment, it just fortified Palace and gave them a platform to actually get the result. But I don't think Palace played particularly well.
I think Palace did play very well, Michelle, but okay.
I think Zaha had Royal on skates for the entire game, and they were attacking through that side a lot. He's getting a rude introduction to the Premier League, I think. But no, I thought Palace played. I don't think they played exceptionally well. They played well enough to win, and they scored 2 late goals. But it was a decent game.
Anyone else got anything to say?
Well, there's nothing I can say that you guys haven't already said, to be honest. I thought the game was an okay game. It wasn't a brilliant game. From a Spurs point of view, it was diabolical, especially after the sending off. Palace actually did all right. There's room for them to actually improve on the way they played. And now they got the 3 points. Maybe that might spur them on to play a bit better and get more results for their new manager. But apart from that, yeah, it was an okay game.
I think the big thing with Spurs is people need to not get carried away when you win 3 games. And people need to not get carried away when you lose a couple of games. It's going to happen. We don't have the same strength in depth as the top 4 do. We may have arguably as good a first 11, 12, 13 as some of the others do. But beyond that, we don't. And so I think that we've had a bit of a reality check, and it was probably needed. It's just a bit unfortunate that we've had that reality check just before we play Chelsea and Arsenal, because it could come. We could find ourselves having won the first 3, losing the next 3. And then if Arsenal win at Burnley and then beat us, they could be a by the time we get to the end of next week. So
yeah, we hope you lose the next 35. That's all we're wishing for.
What you got to remember is that the first few games for every team anyway is just like their filling out process, seeing how their players are going to adapt to that sort of stuff, especially against the new teams that come in or the teams that are more eager to try and win the games. The first 3-4 games, it's not a win all or lose all for the season. Teams will always get better and get worse. There are going to be points that are going to be dropped by teams surprised by lower end teams and vice versa. So I don't watch too much into the first few games.
I'm still trying to figure out Spurs purchases. And
sorry, Bertram.
Go ahead, Tony.
There was a question in the chat, guys, about Hudson Edouard. What are your thoughts on him after a couple of games, and what do we think of his potential for the rest of the season?
Well, that was he played for 8 minutes, Tony. That was his first appearance.
Wow.
He came under the sub with 10 minutes to go and scored twice.
So plenty more of that, hopefully, for Palace's sake.
From Palace's perspective, yes, they would hope so. Whether he'll get as much space in the penalty area as he got against Spurs against anyone else, I really don't know. But
it's too hard to comment. It's too hard to comment on that over one game. And as you said, he only had 10 minutes. He obviously had a lot to prove, and Spurs were playing bad anyway. So you can't really use that to kind of gauge whether he's going to be a brilliant player or a bad player.
He got introduced at the right time.
Season. Exactly. What you got to do is you got to see when he gets more game time and when he plays a lot of other teams, and then you'll be able to make up your mind. Probably by about halfway through the season, you'll know
Cool.
whether he's going to be a good player for them or not.
Cool.
But
Bertram?
it certainly helped his confidence what happened last week.
Definitely.
So it's good for him in that regard.
He has a good scoring record at Celtic for years. He's been linked with us, linked with a number of teams, frankly, but including ourselves. So he must have some potential for so many teams to be linked to him. And he took his chances pretty well in that game. You know, he looked like someone who likes to shoot, which is a good thing, especially in the box. So we'll see how it works. As everyone is saying, it's a little bit too early to make an assessment. What I don't understand is I'm trying to assess Spurs' new purchases, and I'm having difficulty doing so. Maybe Andy can elaborate on that. Because in our team, for example, we see Lakonga, we see Takahiro, we see Ben White, we see Ramsdale. We're seeing them for entire 90 minutes. And though it's still early, you're getting some feel for them. I'm having that challenge with Spurs team. I'm not seeing that, so not sure why.
Sorry, you're not seeing what in the Spurs team?
I'm not being able to make an assessment of Spurs' new players. I saw Rael play on the right back. He had a mixed game. But all your new purchases... Yeah, no, but all your new purchases, I'm having difficulty, maybe I'm missing them. I'm not watching all the Spurs game.
Romero has basically not played yet, other than in the Europa qualifying round.
And I don't watch Bush League, so I don't watch Bush League, so I wouldn't know. Go ahead, Andy.
Sorry, every time I speak, I couldn't. You come back in, so I'm not. Are you saying something?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, Royal. That was his debut, and that's a bit of a baptism of fire in a depleted Spurs side up against Zaha, who was on fire on the day. And you know, but he did some promising things. But the thing that got me about Royal is I was saying from 5 minutes in, stop trying to nick the ball. I guess in Spain he gets a lot more time or gets a lot more leeway to nick in front of a player and nick the ball off them, and he's not going to get away with that in the Premier League. He kept trying to steal possession. And Zaha was just rolling him all the time. And it happened about 4 or 5 times in the first half. And I thought, he's going to have to learn to be patient and to hold behind the defender, the attacker, and force him backwards. Because he keeps trying to nick in front of him, and the guy rolls him, and he was getting it out of position quite a lot. So he's going to learn quite quickly that he can't do that in the Premier League. But, you know, Romero I want to see, because Romero was voted Serie A defender in Italy last year, and there are some seriously good defenders in Italy, and he was voted best defender in Italy. But we need to see Romero play regularly in the Premier League. The 3 guys that are in quarantine return tomorrow morning and will train for the first time with the team for 2 weeks. But it may be that they will get plunged in against Chelsea, because if Dyer's unavailable, Tanganga's suspended. It may be that Sanchez and Romero get thrown in despite not being around for a couple of weeks. We'll wait and see what happens. Lo Celso plays brilliantly for Argentina, but doesn't seem to cut it for Tottenham. I don't know what the problem is there, but there is a player there, because everybody's raves about him when he plays internationally. But he just doesn't seem to click at Spurs. And Ndombele's another mystery, because he has superb touches and is an amazing talent. No one's going to deny his talent, but does some brilliant things. And then you just watch a midfielder run past him into a dangerous area, and he doesn't track him, and he just lets him go. And you wonder whether he's got the motivation or the inclination to do the hard yards in the Premier League. I'm beginning to wonder whether he actually is prepared to do that and just wants to go and have an easy life in Spain or France, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I want Ndombele to be successful, because he showed flashes last night in Rennes. He was brilliant. But then, like I say, I watched 2-3 times a midfielder run past him, and he didn't track him. And you think, well, they're the things that are going to cost you goals. So, he needs to decide whether he wants to be special and work hard, or just be someone that does a flash, a bit like Ozil, turns up one game in 5. I don't know. But, you know, I think we've got the nucleus of a decent squad, but I'm worried about Kane. He doesn't look as fired up or as motivated as he was. And now that could return if Son comes back and we get another couple of wins under our belt. Maybe Kane will find his mojo again. At the moment, there's something missing there. But he looks strong enough for England. Although he didn't look sensational for England, but he scored goals for England. But we'll wait and see. I think there's a lot still to come from Tottenham, but I'm a bit worried that we're a bit negative under Nuno. I'm worried about him tactically, that whether he's going to be the kind of manager that's going to deliver what Spurs want. But I'm prepared to give him time because he's only just started.
Tony?
Cool. Okay, so let's move on, shall we, to the return of the great CR7.
I was waiting for him to come up.
Obviously, it would be remiss of us to not talk about his return. Let's talk about the game, and then let's talk about the expectations going forward, because we've seen a win and a loss within the space of 7 days for Man United. So where will they end up? Anyone?
Sure, I think they're finished top 4 still, but they're not going to win the Premiership. And
No.
they've probably got the players in their starting 11 to justify having a proper go at winning it as well. But a very wise man once said to me in 2010, when Man City were the richest club in England, comfortably, no one else could compete with them, yada, yada, yada. You got all that money, but Mark Hughes was spending it. Now, all of a sudden, and just down the road at Old Trafford, they've got all these quality players, but they're being coached by Ollie.
Good point.
I just can't see. I mean, what they've done against Young Boys the other night, there was so much tactical naivety. Even going down to 10 men, Young Boys should not be getting a look in at beating United.
Yeah.
They just shouldn't. So, but the game against Newcastle, though, they showed some vulnerability at the back again, and that's with Varane making his first start for the team. So I think people will still be able to get them. They're still not going to be able to stop people scoring.
Is this not what Neil was alluding to, though? The early stages where they're feeling each other out. Can you see at some point in time, if those players that you just mentioned all start clicking, the Premier League should be watching out?
Oh, definitely.
I mean,
Go ahead, Drew.
to an extent, yeah, Neil is right. The first part of the season, it's hard to take anything away from them. I mean, City have lost to a mid-table club already this season. Sorry, Andy. But there's just something with United that, whilst Ollie's manager, I don't think they will ever be able to win the Premiership. As good a player as he was, and as many championships he was involved in, I don't think he has the ability to get that team up for it every week and make the right decisions and the tough decisions when they need to be made.
I think Ollie's a little bit on the soft side, to be honest. I mean, when you look at the players that they've got now, and they've kind of, obviously, the icing on the cake is Ronaldo coming back. I think they have a good chance of winning the league. But there is just something missing. I can't put my finger on it, but there is something missing from that team that will most likely they'll end up maybe 3rd or 4th, or if they're lucky, 2nd. But they do have the potential and the players to actually win the league with what they've got at the moment. But trying to get them to click it's.
But Neil, I can't see what the missing ingredient is. I mean, if anything, a strong defensive midfielder, maybe. I mean, they've still got Joel Matip. Is it Joel Matip?
No,
You talk about
you're
Matip.
talking
You talk about
Pneumatic, isn't it? Pneumatic.
yeah.
And then they've still got the non-Brazilian.
They have Fred, they have Matip, and they have McTominay.
Matip and the non-Brazilian, yeah. So I'm just thinking, like, I don't see where they're lacking the player that you're talking about. I think they've got everything. Where's the weakness? Where's the weakness?
So there are a couple of things. One is they only have 9 defenders in any game because Fernandes and Ronaldo don't play defense, right? And you get found in the Premier League when you don't play defense. Second, in the middle, Pogba is not the best defender. Always commit fouls when he gets pressure defensively. Fred and McTominay is a good player and can play both ways, actually. But I think at the CDM position, they'll have some challenges. Now, offensively, between Greenwood and CR7 and Rashford when he comes back, and the Uruguayan, they have a lot of offensive firepower. And if Sancho comes through, he hasn't produced today. They have a lot of offensive firepower. Don't forget
Martial as well. Martial
is going to be on the sideline. He's not going to play, I don't think.
Yeah.
But if your core is not as strong as it needs to be, you can't be challenged, right? I think they have 2 good central defenders, even though I think Maguire will get found out sometimes. But the problem for Man U is not just they don't have a good team, is that you have 3 other very, very good teams between Man City, Liverpool, and Chelsea. That's part of the challenge you have if you're Man U. And if you look at PSG the other night, actually, their problem was their front three, all looking at each other saying, I don't run back for balls. People go and get balls to give to me. I'm not running back. You go chase it. I'm a star. So you can't have 8 defenders on a field in today's football where everyone has to defend.
See, that's where you need a very strong manager to put those plays in.
Yeah, but are you going to tell Messi to go play defense? Are you going to tell Ronaldo to go play defense? Are you going to tell Mbappe to go play defense when he say I want to go to Madrid? Are you going to play Neymar to play? You can't talk to those 3. I don't care what manager you are.
But I can't see Oli telling Pogba to do the same.
I think Pogba tries to play defense. He's just not very good at it. You can't tell Ronaldo to play defense, especially now. He just want to score goals. He don't care about assists. So it's tough for the coach. I sympathize for the manager. Not the manager's fault. I mean, these guys are world-class talent. Whoever is saying between Messi and Ronaldo, who is best ever. We're not talking about best now. You can't tell them to play defense. They look at it like you have 2 heads. Like I'm saving my energy to go score. Send Pogba and McTominay and Rashford to go run for that ball and give it to me. I'm not running back there.
I'm gonna leave that one there. Drew, I'm gonna let you go in and chime in on what was a potential top 4 last season. Leicester losing at home to Man City. Was that as tight as that result showed for you?
First 20 minutes of the game, City were absolutely brilliant. To be honest,
Which City?
Sorry, Man City. Yeah, first 20 minutes of the game, absolutely brilliant performance. They looked very close to what they were at their best last season. But then, in true Leicester fashion, they just start getting a foothold in the game, and they just make life very difficult for everyone. And I'm happy more than anything that City came away. Well, but Man City came away with 3 points in that game, because I predicted last week it was going to be a lose or a draw for us. So, I'm pretty over the moon with that. Little side note to the game though, Lookman actually looked incredibly good on his first game back in the Premiership. So Leicester seemed to have unearthed another nugget from the cold of the football scrap he began.
Yeah.
So,
question is, how long will they be able to hold on to him for?
It's always the question being Leicester, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the question I would have posed to you, Drew, is: can City win the league again without a striker?
I'm going to keep being negative and say no. But it depends how a huge amount depends how the Torres experiment goes. Because when we brought Torres in, he looked like a rangy, fleet-footed winger who would just develop into just being a pure wide man. Seeing the way he actually performs for Spain, though, and seeing what Guardiola's got him now doing through the middle, he could be the answer to our centre forward problems, but still have the ability to play as a winger when needed. So I'm going to say I'm still saying Chelsea will win the Premiership, but if we
Chelsea.
can get Torres to 15 goals in a season kind of level, then we will win it. But
Okay.
that's where it all hinges on a 21-year-old, which is not great.
What's that say? How many would Sergio have scored? I mean, to be honest, I don't think we should be mentioning Sergio anymore because he's just he's wash. In the terms of LeBron James, he's wash. This is
The
a
thing
great
is,
City
and
side.
I obviously love Sergio. Sergio delivered the Premiership title. The thing is with Sergio, though, after Pep arrived, he was never at his best. Sergio's game is like the Messi thing. Sergio doesn't run backwards.
Yeah, but he was also injured quite a lot as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. So we never got to see what a fully fit Sergio looked like, and also.
Have you actually had him for a full season with no injuries? I can't think of one.
We literally signed him in 2011. He scored a wonder hat trick in the second half against Swansea. Then was out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is there one season that he hasn't been injured?
Yeah, every season he would miss between 8 to 14 games minimum.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Neely, he wasn't helped by Pep having him run up and down like he's a spring chicken, chasing after people when all he wants to do is stand in front of the goal and put the ball in there.
What we got to have a go at Pep for? Just because he doesn't like football fans anymore?
So let's move on. The last game I want to review of last week, of course, we can't leave out the Liverpool fan in the room.
Of course you can't.
So let's leave the best till last. Liverpool won in convincing fashion against Leeds, a Leeds team that I was thinking could spring a bit of a surprise. But
do you know the way Liverpool play, and I know there's a few people that will disagree, but Liverpool, in my view, they never play for 90 minutes. They'll play well enough. They might have a good start. They'll waste so many chances, opportunities in front of goal. I mean, Mane, Salah. Oh God, do you know? I'm not that. You need a whole new program for that, for those two, with the opportunities that they miss at the moment. I think Leeds did play well. Liverpool played in their spurts. They played well for a bit. Then they kind of took their foot off the gas, and then when it looked like Leeds were going to score, then they decided to put their foot back on the gas again. It was a good game. I mean, it was a good result. I think Liverpool should have dominated more. They should have played better. Should have scored more goals as well because they had more chances. And the sad thing is Elliot, the injury that he got during the game. That was really sad.
I was wondering to talk about the sending off, because for me it wasn't even a free kick, let alone a foul, let alone a yellow card, let alone a red card. I think the FA's decision is an absolute nonsense. For me, that was a clean, perfectly won tackle, and I've seen it from 1,000 different angles, and I've still yet to see anything that suggests to me it's a foul. It's not a foul, in my opinion. Yeah. It's not a foul.
I think, Andy, the severity of the injury is that
the injury has nothing to do with whether or not it's a foul. A foul is either a foul or not. You can get injured from a perfectly innocent challenge.
So I was going to try to finish. The injury influences people's thinking. Exactly. I don't think it was a foul, but what happens is when you have sometimes you hear players when we had no crowd scream, and referee make decision based on that scream. It sounds so chilling, right? Referees are human beings too. They make decisions because when he first looked at it, he didn't think he was going to give him a card.
Yeah.
And then he probably saw it and says, you know what, I have to send him off. And the FA don't want to. They're very conscious of public opinion and perspective. And even though, what's the less of the two evil? You saying you're going to rescind it. Huh?
Is 101 Apollo?
Yeah.
Again?
Yeah, 101 is Apollo.
It wasn't a tackle from behind. He came from the side and took the ball.
It wasn't from behind. It wasn't from behind. It
It
wasn't.
was from behind. It was from behind.
No,
Um,
he pushed his foot. He sort of leaned and pushed his foot, trying to pull the ball. So I wouldn't say. Well, was it from behind? I'm not sure it was from behind.
It's from
From
behind.
behind, he wouldn't have been able to get in front of his leg. He came from a side.
Yeah, I don't think it was a foul, frankly. And if you hear,
Foul.
I don't think it was a foul. I was surprised to hear the severity of the injury, one, and secondly, the red card.
Well, yeah, but the injury says it for itself, right?
It should have been overturned. The FA have only upheld that red card because of the severity of the injury. They haven't looked at the actual incident.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where the FA is coming from. Even though I don't agree with it, I understand where they're coming from. It's sad for the kid because he's that young. That happened to Ramsey when he was much younger.
Yeah,
and that takes you a while to recover from. It's a bad injury.
He's played a couple of games. He's proved that he deserves to be at least on the bench, if not in the first 11 playing, and he's done really well. And then an injury like that, it's just like it's a real, excuse the pun, but it is such a tough break for him right now. Thankfully, he's being operated on, and he should be able to return by the end of the season.
He's what, 18? The bones are still not brittle. The bones are good.
They're rubber, man. The bones are but rubber, man. They bend. They bend. So yeah, he'll bounce back, but he's going to be, mentally he's going to be really weary when he does start playing, and when he does see players coming towards him. Hopefully he'll get over it, but when you go for an injury like that, it messes up with you mentally. So we'll have to see how he copes with that.
At least he's got someone like Van Dijk to take experience from and to be talked through the recovery process. Definitely.
What, Van Dijk, Matip, Gomez, Hendo, they all got injured in the central defence position last season. So yeah, he's got quite a few people he can speak to and get experienced people that he can talk to about his injury.
What's the story with Konate? He hasn't played a game yet, has he?
Do you know what? I forgot we actually bought him because it's like why spend just over 36 million on a player and have him sometimes warm the bench. I thought, come on, man, give the man at least 10 minutes. Unfortunately, he hasn't had it yet. So I don't know. I'm going to have to get onto the phone with Klopp, and if he doesn't play him or bring him on from the bench this season, I'm going to have a word with him and say, look, Jurgen, what's going on, mate? You spent a lot of money. You spent a lot of money on this player, and he's not doing anything. What's the point? We could have put that money towards a player that you would play, sort of thing. So we'll have to see. I mean, we sold a few players. Just over 56 million. Bought one player in, and he refuses to play him, and it's just like, why bring him in? But as I said, I'll have a word with Klopp and see what he's really thinking.
So Apollo would put in a question in about Leeds and what has happened to the free flowing high pressing Leeds.
They're not pressing like they were before. They're not running all over the pitch. Literally, you watched them last season, they were running all over the pitch, literally just tearing at the opposition's defence all over the place. They're not doing it this season. They're not doing the same level of running.
Last season, they were looked at when they first came in. They were looked as the whipping boys, and they weren't expected to last. So they obviously had a point to prove. I think what Bielsa's doing now is taking it more cautious. I mean, I think it's the wrong tactic that he's playing at the moment. But they seem to have taken their foot off that attacking football that they had, and they're trying to play a bit more defensively. And if they play like that for the rest of the season, they will go down.
Spurs did it for a couple of years under Pochettino, but Pochettino tried to do the same thing in the third season, where he tried to find a different method of play because the players burn out. They can't play that way for 50, 60 games, have a few weeks break and then go again for another 50, 60 games. They have to find another way of playing, and I think Bielsa's finding that with Leeds this season.
Yeah, but their tactics last season was really good and it kept them up. If he keeps with these tactics, they're going down.
Well,
Neil, your team did the same thing, Neil. your team played. Klopp when he first came was pressing 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Then got reality check and start backing off. Press more selectively.
Yeah, but they've got a lot. They've got a much stronger side than Leeds do.
True.
If Leeds had one of the strongest sides in the league, then I'd say okay, fine. They'll be able to get away with it because they'll be able to put their foot back on the gas and get the results that they need, especially against the lower end teams, which is what Liverpool can do. But Leeds can't afford to do that. Yeah, until they start, bringing money in and bringing more experience and better players in to keep them in the Premiership, they can't afford to do that with the same squad that they got at the moment. Last season, the tactics work. I think that they should still be sticking to it, at least against the teams that are on par or below them.
Okay, so we've gone through last week's game. We've now got on screen the coming fixtures starting tomorrow with Wolverhampton versus Brentford in the morning and finishing with Aston Villa and Everton in the evening. I'll be honest with you, none of them fixtures on Saturday gives me any kind of wish to engage in soccer tomorrow. Anybody want to talk about any of them games on Saturday?
Do you know? I think
just say Newcastle Leeds tonight was a great game.
Yeah, it was a good game.
But
I watched my favorite player, the most exciting player in
Maxima,
probably.
who got the game
a brilliant goal. Brilliant goal.
He's a brilliant player.
Rafinha played
He was the best
good as
player
well,
on
you
the
know.
pitch. He was man of the match, definitely.
Yeah.
But it was a really, really entertaining end-to-end game. It could have been anything, the score, but it was entertaining. But yeah, they're both struggling to win football matches. Neither one of them have won a game yet, so it's going to be tough for them this season. But I'm really interested tomorrow in seeing the Burnley Arsenal game. Are Arsenal going to continue a recovery, or are they going to get out-muscled by Burnley, who so far don't look the same team as they were towards the end of last season? So I'll be interested to see what happens in that game tomorrow.
I'm going to be interested in the Wolves Brentford game. Brentford played well. They played good enough to come up. They've done well since they've been in the league over the past few games, and I'm waiting to see what happens when a team like Wolves actually takes them apart. So I'm going to be interested to see if that actually happens, whether they continue the role that they're on. Brentford is definitely one of the teams to watch, I think, as an underdog this season. They'll surprise a few teams.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the shock win against Arsenal first game of the season has propped them up. But I mean, let's look at the next three results. It's 2 draws and a loss. So for me, they ain't really ripping up trees. And Wolves have got 1 win and 3 losses. So they're clearly a team that right now are in free fall. So
both teams have got something to prove tomorrow.
But Wolves have played well though. When I see them play, they look a decent team.
Wolves have looked good every game so far this season, pretty much.
Just can't score,
but without any end product.
Yeah, but there's no point having possession and looking good if you're not getting the 3 points at the end of it.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is that they're creating chances, right? So it's one thing to look good, like we do, and get to the 18, you turn back. They look. They should be scoring.
Are we suggesting that Arsenal have looked good this season?
We look good against who we played. We didn't look good against Brentford. We look good against Norwich.
Look. When it comes
and
to
West Brom, we look good against.
You missed the.
The
beginning.
The first 2 or 3 minutes against City, you were like right in the game.
Yeah.
No, City was being like a boxer, feeding us out and saying, "I'm just going to slap you when I feel like it."
To be fair, I think we'd only have actually won that game 3-0 until Xhaka got sent off. But
we were never in the game, Drew. Odegaard, Smith Rowe, Saka, nobody could keep the ball.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be
never
positive.
in the game. There is no positive from that game. So what we're talking about now? We're talking about.
Let's move on. So nothing else is standing out on Saturday, but 2 fixtures on Sunday definitely got my blood boiling. That's West Ham against Manchester United, and Spurs at home to Chelsea. Who wants to come in first?
Well, West Ham doesn't have Antonio for that game because he got a red card the last game, 2 yellows, right? So, unless their main striker has been pretty hot, they still should have a good team on the field. I'm not sure who's going to be that number 9 for them, though, in that game. And Man U is feeding themselves, right? I mean, they're hot, even though they lost a young boy in the Champions League, but they have a lot of firepower. If that firepower all clicks, West Ham will be challenged.
But I somehow think that David Moyes has done sufficient to make West Ham difficult to beat.
What?
I watched them play Man U last year. They didn't look good against Man U at all. They look good against the rest of the league, but I didn't see them looking good against Man U, so I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
The problem is what tactics Moyes chooses to employ, because what happened last time they played Man U was after being on a really good run where they were attacking teams against Man U, they got scared and they gave them too much respect and sat back. And Man U will destroy you if you do that to them. The best way to get a team like Man U is to attack them and try to exploit the likes of Maguire's turning pace and getting in behind Shaw and whatever. That's the best way to get at Manchester United. But it depends. If Moyes goes for it, then I think United, West Ham have a chance. But if he just sits back, I think Man United will roll them over. So, but West Ham is in form. So
I think it depends on. Sorry, I think it depends on what Man United team turns up. Actually, to be honest, because they'll either whip West Ham or they'll just struggle.
Well, the thing is, they're obviously going to be wanting to make a comeback from their loss to Young Boys.
Yeah,
there's going to be a reaction.
If Pogba is making 40-yard point passes on the dime to Greenwood and Sancho and CR7 and Fernandes, I don't think West Ham would be able to withstand that pressure.
I think here we're underestimating West Ham's secret weapon of Kurt Zouma.
I thought you were going to say Rice.
I do actually say something about Declan Rice. He literally looks. Now we've all watched Bambi, haven't we? The moment where Bambi hits the ice is Declan Rice running across a football pitch.
Oh man! I can't believe you went there.
I mean, he's a great defensive player. He's a great holding midfielder, but he is not the Rolls Royce of a defensive midfielder that you'd want.
He scored last night.
No, he did score a cracker actually.
I wouldn't say he's great. He's very good. I'm not going to use the word great to describe him. He has a lot of good attributes, right? His composure on the ball. He can make a pass, can break a play. He's a good player. He's a good player.
Look, I'll give him one positive. I think he's better than Jordan Henderson. But
listen, everybody's better than Jordan Henderson. To be honest,
I am not in that club that said Jordan Henderson is not a good player. I'm sorry.
Jordan
Henderson is a good player.
But you've got to deal with Granit Xhaka, so
I'd rather not, but I have no choice.
I must admit, since Klopp has come in, he's actually made Hendo a better player. But before Klopp came in, I was not impressed with Hendo. I don't know why he came to the club. Hendo scored a
screamer last game. Hendo makes 40-yard passes on the dime. Hendo works his socks off.
How often does he do that? How often does he get inaccurate passing? How often does he?
No, he gets it because you know what? Liverpool fans don't appreciate him, so they don't see it. But if you're a fan, not a fan of Liverpool, just watch football. He does it quite a bit. Those crosses from right to left.
Bertram, Bertram, here's the $100 million question.
Yeah.
Would you have Henderson or would you have Bukayo Saka?
They play different positions.
Oh!
They do.
Okay.
It's not a life for life.
All right, okay, here's a question. This is what I always ask my friends, especially Liverpool fans. How many of the top 4 clubs would Hendo walk straight into their team?
How many of the top 4 clubs? So
not Chelsea, not City.
Team, not Chelsea, exactly. Not City, not Chelsea, not United.
Actually,
he would walk into
United.
United.
What?
He would walk into
United. I'm going to make
United.
a case for him at United.
Yes, he would. And he walks in Liverpool, so it's 2 of the 4. He's in Liverpool's team and his Man U team. He's 12 to 4.
He's not-
That's good enough. That's good enough. He's in 12 to 4.
Yeah, but to be honest, against AC Milan, we played better when he wasn't playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Keita actually manned up and actually had a blinding game in that game.
No, Keita has talent. He just hasn't produced it since he.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Man.
Yeah,
You know what? I keep. You know, we had this conversation a long time ago. When you're gonna get rid of Origi and pass him over to Arsenal?
No, he cannot come to
surprised.
Arsenal because he may have sell-on value. We don't take players who have sell-on value.
I was so
Look
surprised.
at Apollo misbehaving. What's going on? We ain't talking about the Washington football team. Get that rubbish out of here.
No, Origi, I must admit, I feel kind of sorry for him because he's not going to get a proper look in on any of the games.
He needs to come to Arsenal, bro. I'm telling you, Neil.
Yeah, but the thing
do with a defender, and we'll happily let you have Rob Holding, and we'll take Origi off your hands.
Yeah, but the thing is, we were looking to sell him over the summer. Nobody came
We'll
in. For
take him.
Well, I'll give you Klopp's number at the end of the day, yeah, and contact him in the January window, yeah.
All right.
I've been incredibly confused this past week by what Jurgen Klopp said about Origi. It's unfair that no one will come in for him.
Yeah.
How about fucking play him?
Do you know?
If you want him off your books and you're that surprised that no one's going to make an offer,
Drew.
put him in the shop window.
No, Drew. That's wrong. Because Arsenal, all season last year, got rid of Kolasinac, tried everything to get rid of him in the summer, and then played him against Man City.
Well, yeah.
So here's the problem with you guys. You're in the UK. You've been vaccinated. You don't realize what's happening to the rest of the world. You're in your nice little environment that you're in, and the rest of the world has no money to buy anyone. That's why the players can't move. Nobody has any money. The Premier League is a spoiled league. Serie A is on their last leg. Did you realize that? No one has the money to buy anyone.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, Bertrand, he can do what Ronaldo did and go to PSG on a free.
Exactly. Well, the players are doing that now, right? Yes. Well, you can't go to PSG. Come on. I mean,
No, but he can go on a free, right?
He can go on a free. I mean, him, Lacazette. There are tons of players who want to go on a free next year because clubs have no money to buy players.
Look, Liverpool had a player called Marco Grujic. Yeah. How often have you seen him actually play for Liverpool?
Wasn't he on loan for like 7 years? I thought he was out.
Listen, we sold him to Porto for 10.5 million.
What?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so if we can sell a player like that, I'm sure we can sell Origi. I'm sure we can sell him.
Oh dear.
Yeah, you could definitely sell someone who's potentially actually a good player.
Yeah.
Pass
the number, Neil. I'll have a chat with you, man. Listen.
All right, I'll send it after this. Yeah.
So here's what's funny. Lazio, they want to give us more than what? Or was it Roma? More than £30 million for Xhaka. And yet they bought Abrams for 30-something million pounds, which I don't understand, right? So they wanted Xhaka that badly. They don't value him that much, right? No. There's some players who don't worth that much in the marketplace, no matter how well they play in the Euro and place else. They're just not really valued. So,
Origi may not be with the Abraham to Roma one. Abraham was more of a necessity with them having to sell Jacko.
Yeah. But 34 is a lot of money for Italian team. 30 plus million. Anything about 10 million is a lot of money.
Abraham's doing well out there.
Yeah,
he will do well. He will do well.
He will do well.
He's a damn good striker, to be fair.
Yeah, I think he's got all the necessary tools to be a very good striker in the Italian league, where he's going to get much more space than he would in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Let's finish this off, gents. Let's go to the last game. Chelsea away at the Lily Whites. Go on, Andy.
I'm going to be there. I'm there. I'm going.
Good man.
So I'm looking forward to that. And it's
your face says otherwise.
The world's first carbon zero game at elite level.
What does that mean?
It means
everybody's taking the
carbon
bus.
Neutral game. Good for the environment.
Yeah, so what are they actually going to be doing? No one's going to be taking their cars there.
It's digital only. There's no paper. There's no tickets, no membership passes or anything like that. It's all digital. It's all been downloaded to my phone and everything like that. So I'm going to have to show my phone.
What if I don't have a phone? What if I don't have a phone?
Well, you need to have a smartphone, otherwise you've got a bit of a problem.
So
But they've obviously got to deal with a few tech companies. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, quite frankly, at the moment, our injury situation is really problematic for us. You know, obviously started off the season well, and then it's all gone. The international break has caused us a massive problem. It looks like Son is not available. It looks like Dyer's not available. Mora and Bergwijn both went off injured last night in Rennes. If we don't have Son, Bergwijn and Mora, then we have no pace. And if we have no pace, I can't see that we can hurt Chelsea. So I obviously hope that Son in particular, but if not, Bergwijn and Mora can make recoveries for Sunday. If we don't have any of them, which at the moment is what's being said, then I think we've got a real big problem on our hands. Because
it's not the big problem, the big lump up front for Chelsea.
Yeah,
He's no longer a lump, Tony. He's no longer a lump.
He graduated from the Emil Heskey School of being a centre forward about 5 years ago. The guy he's unplayable.
Don't get me wrong. Lukaku has improved a huge amount since he went over to Italy. He's got tactically better. He's stronger. He's more astute in the game, and he is a beast. But I still think he's a little bit overrated. I'm not. I think he's very good, but I don't think he's the world. For me, he's not the world beater that people are making him out to be. I think decent top class defenders will find him out.
What is a decent?
It's almost like we're talking about Harry Kane.
Hang on. What is a decent top class defender?
Van Dijk.
Yeah.
I don't think they exist.
Van Dijk.
Yep. Name me another.
Diaz at City.
Really?
I saw Diaz play him for Portugal. He made him look like a toddler.
Yeah.
Lukaku absolutely bullied him.
Okay, I mean, I'm just trying to think of top class defenders, but Chiellini, I don't think Lukaku does too much. To
be fair, in the games against Juventus last year,
don't get me wrong, Spurs don't have anyone that's going to stop Lukaku. All right? I'm not saying that, but
Andy, aren't you making the argument as a very good forward because you have to pick out the elite centre halves and only going to find a few that can stop him? So you basically say he's a very good forward?
Yep, that's my point. You have to be one of the 4 or 5 elite defenders to be able to stop him. Which, when you think about it, that's what makes a Mo Salah.
Maybe
a Ronaldo. That's what makes a Messi. Because there are only 4 or 5 defenders in the world who can defend against those players.
My impression was formed of Lukaku several years ago, and I've never really rated him. However, there is no doubt that he has improved drastically since he went to Italy and learned his craft and improved. He's come back a better player than when he left. But I still don't believe Lukaku's touch puts him in the world-class, top-class bracket. I don't believe his touch is good enough to be considered that. I'm somebody that appreciates players with touch, and for me, Lukaku doesn't have that.
So what I see from Lukaku, a couple of things. One is you can't move him, you can't move him physically. You can't move him if you're a defender. Even you're Van Dijk, you can't move him, right? Second,
Van Dijk actually did handle him in the game.
But here's my point though. Most strikers who you can't move, they're not very mobile.
Yeah.
He's extremely mobile.
I was one of them.
No, but I'm saying he's extremely mobile. And secondly, he's learned to pass the ball. So his layoff passes are at the right pace. Before, he was passing really well. If a center forward can receive the ball in and make the right layoff pass, like a Giroud, he's not Giroud level in terms of layoff passes, at the right, and he can go by you, that's a very difficult striker to play.
But what you got to see that he's now that he's come to Chelsea, that was the one thing that they were missing compared to last season is a decent striker, and I think he's improved since he's come back into the Premier League. He's going to be a tough player to play against. There's only going to be a few defenders that will be able to put him in.
And if he's getting Werner's chances, what Werner got last year, come on.
Oh,
yeah.
But you can't put Werner and Lukaku in the same.
Stop the supply
press.
to Lukaku. You see, Arsenal didn't do that when Chelsea went to Arsenal. You let Lukaku receive the ball to feet. He was pinning your centre half.
Yep.
Mari or whatever he was behind him, and you were allowing him to receive the ball far too much. He was way too involved in the build-up play in the game against Arsenal, and that's why you suffered.
Andy,
if you watch the following game, I think they played.
Look at when they played Liverpool. Liverpool did cut that off, and I was going to say that
cut off the supply. Lukaku, he had much less involvement in the game.
They played the second half with 10 men, didn't they? They played the second half almost with 10 men.
Yeah, they did.
Most of the second half with 10 men. Here's the point: Jorginho, Kovacic was very, very good, by the way, underrated. Kante, you get Mount, you have all these players to get him the ball. So only the very best team, like a Man City or a Liverpool, can preclude him from getting the ball. When you have so many good players surrounding you, at some point you're gonna play you're gonna be tough to get the ball, not to get the ball.
I don't know what your point is, Bertrand, because that's exactly what I'm saying. I don't see.
But you're saying stop him from getting the ball. I'm saying you can't stop him from getting the ball because there's too many good players around him to get him the ball.
What Chelsea have done well is exactly that. It's the fire players that are going to get in the ball. I understand that. But what I'm saying is I still don't think Lukaku is world class. I don't think Lukaku is as good as Kane. Absolutely no way, in my opinion, is Lukaku as good as Kane.
Right, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to interject. Lukaku isn't as good as Kane as an overall footballer. It's not even close.
He may be more effective this season.
If you ask me who I'd rather have in my team, Lukaku.
Well, I can't see that. Look at Kane's record for the last 7 years in the Premier League. Untouchable.
Kane's record undoubtedly is brilliant. But, and this is the caveat with Kane, it's all been at Spurs. He has only ever been the main man. Lukaku's gone to clubs, not been the main man when he's got there. I'd say even at Chelsea, he's not the main man still. He will be within this season. But
Lukaku has scored goals everywhere he's been. West Brom, Everton. He's not. He went to Inter.
That's not fair. His first 17 games for Chelsea, in his first stint, he didn't score a goal.
But he wasn't getting a lot of playing time at Chelsea then.
Well, no, he was also 17 years old, so I'm going to let him off.
I mean, Kane wasn't playing the Premier League at 17.
He was at Norwich, wasn't he, at 17? Or Leyton Orient?
Millwall. He went everywhere.
Just imagine if he'd stayed at Norwich, he'd have 3 championship trophies.
He still doesn't have a trophy. He's getting older, you know. He's getting older. He's not a young chicken anymore. He must be very perturbed about that. Andy, the fans need to release Kane. Let him out of prison. He's not going to win a trophy with Spurs.
I'm obviously not bitter at all either about the whole Kane to City scenario. So.
I said I didn't want him to go, but I would have been prepared, more than prepared, if we could have got the 160 odd million that Levy wanted. I would have been happy to do it, but City weren't prepared to pay it, and they walked away, and that was their prerogative. So I wouldn't have had a problem had we got the money and bought Vlahovic and Martinez. I would have been quite happy with that. I wouldn't have had a problem, particularly if we could have got Koundé as well. But you know, and I'll still say that in January. If in January City came in and made that £150 million offer, I'd take it.
I think that's it now, though, for Kane, isn't it? There's not going to be another team in the next couple of years.
I'm inclined to agree that City are more likely to wait and go for Haaland That is what I think is more likely. But Haaland, there's a good chance he wants to go to Real Madrid. So we'll see what happens.
Who technically, and by Spanish financial fair plays rules, they do not have the money to buy him.
Who's paying any attention?
What do you mean, Drew? When are they going to buy Mbappe for 160 mil or 40 mil, whatever the number?
Yeah, they want Mbappe and Haaland as a duel up front.
Yeah, the Spanish league has no choice but to allow these things to happen. They have lost Messi, they have lost Ronaldo,
Yeah,
they're losing all the drawing power.
The thing is, financial fair play, I've always had real critical opinions on. There's no secret about it. But
Forget it.
But Drew, if we have financial fair play, City wouldn't be where they are, right?
Exactly.
I know, but without the thing is, financial fair play is all pie in the sky. It doesn't work. It could never work.
No.
What they need is a salary cap, actually.
That's the reason why we have Stan Kroenke in the group right now, because Stan Kroenke wants to know how can we get back to the Super League, innit, Stan?
Of course. It works. Spurs will be relevant, so would Arsenal. Currently, Spurs and Arsenal are not relevant.
Well, no, you'd only be relevant out of those 12 clubs if you're actually within the top
Drew,
6 of them.
No, Drew, you're missing the point here about this. The league would generate so much money, we could be able to spend like everybody else. There'd be so much money generated, you can compete with the Man Cities for talent. Right now, you can't compete for talent because we don't have the resources to do so.
Well, no, because yes, you'd all be generating the same revenue from the league.
Right.
Man City they're about a decade ahead of Arsenal at the moment, and I don't mean that offensively. But talent-wise, City are so much further ahead. They also already have the readies in the bank.
But Drew, here's what people are missing, Drew. You would have a certain number of teams across the globe.
Just sat there with all his wealth and rich players.
But here's what Drew's missing, Drew. There's talent out there. So there's 10 talent. Right now, we're competing with a bunch of other teams apart from the top 4 in this league and across the globe, right? Across Serie A, across Bundesliga. If you only have these top 10 teams, then that talent only goes to the top 10 teams, the best talent. So you have a better chance to get a really, really good player. Right now, us and Spurs can't compete for those talent. We can't.
Yeah, but you're also relying then on players willing to forgo and throw away their entire international career, which is what would have been happening. I think you'd have seen more of an exodus of players to begin with.
No, Drew, money talks. So what happens? The World Cup is not going to have all these talented players. International teams, they would, just like you see teams balk now and allow the Premier League to dominate in terms of saying not releasing players to go to Saudi Arabia to play.
It would be entirely up to FIFA. But would the Super League remain the highest spectacle? Would all the players continue to choose to go there over the years?
How many teams did Tony talk about this evening that we want to watch? He skipped the Saturday games. You only want to talk about the 2 Sunday games. That's all we focused on. Tottenham, Chelsea. We don't care about the other games.
Of which one of those teams didn't even want to be in the Super League and only agreed to it because everyone else was saying yes to it.
Well, yeah, because one of those teams have so much money, they don't have to be in the Super League. That's the problem. We want equitable situation. Well, we're not oligopoly, but it's equitized across the oligopoly. Not what we have now today, which is Man City.
The thing is, though, this is why it makes no sense to me, though, with the Spanish teams and the Italian teams. Why the fuck would you want to start a league where you're not going to win it every season? Let's be honest, Real Madrid and Barcelona are effectively Celtic and Rangers in Scotland. They have a monopoly. In the rare occurrence that Atletico Madrid do win their league.
Like last year?
Yeah, like last season, or was it Valencia in 2004, was it? It doesn't happen very often that you get a surprise over there. It is a league dominated by a couple of clubs, basically. Italy has long runs of being dominated by a singular club at a time. Why would these teams want to change that monopoly?
Because those teams are thinking that it's about money. I can maximize my ability to generate revenues, and I can do more for my club. Greed is everything, isn't it?
But you're not going to do more for your club, though, are you? You're in a division where there's only 10 teams that can win it. How is it going to better your club by just being one of the 10 teams that could win it.
Because you're focused on the local leagues, they're also focused on the Champions League or the ESL that would have had, right? They're trying to win that league, which generates more money. Who refuses money? Unless you're a socialist or a communist. If you're a capitalist, like a lot of these people are, no matter what they espouse to be, you want more money.
Drew's not listening anymore.
Drew went away with the Monsieurs, whatever the Monsieurs are that have all that money. It's
Right,
not fair.
gentlemen,
Yeah.
we've come an hour and a half into the show, so I'm gonna put an end to the misery. It's been great, very entertaining as always. Any last comments?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I was going to say something to Drew, and then he disappeared.
But he's back now.
I'm back.
Back.
Yeah,
I'm back as well.
And now I have a senior moment and forgotten what I was going to say. Move on.
My comment is I hope the kids score tomorrow. I hope the kids score tomorrow. I hope the kids come through for us. We do have. Look, I am more optimistic. Yeah, I know, right? Because they're not scoring. I am more optimistic about the acquisition than other people are. I think Ben White would be a good player. I think Takahiro, Tomoyasu, Takahiri, whatever his name is, be a good player. I love my midfielder, Lokongo. I think he's a very good player. And I also believe that the kids will
How can
do
you
okay.
love him already, but he hasn't even scored a goal? Yet you're complaining about Saka.
He plays centre mid. Tony, I hate to tell you this, Tony. Tony.
What is this going on?
Can I respond? Talk about apples and oranges. He's a centre midfielder who plays deep. He's not even box to box. I'm not expecting to score. I expect my winger to score, my number 10 to score, my 9 to score. If I get a goal from the other midfielders, I'm happy.
And I certainly expect my wing backs to score.
I want them to score versus I expect them to score.
I'm an Arsenal fan. I grew up on Tony Adams scoring goals regularly.
I've remembered what I was going to say. Pep is a failure.
Pep is a failure. You mean in Champions League, not in the Premier League?
Not won the Champions League. That's a failure.
Yes.
I mean,
I think Pep.
You've got to be in it every season to have a chance of winning it. So when you guys qualify on a regular basis,
Drew, let me say this, Drew. Pep has had more money in every league he's been in than anybody else. Period.
Yep. Fact.
Yeah. I mean,
and the best players, by the way, and the best players.
I know, but you're advocating Arsenal spending more money than what they should be at the moment on average players.
Well, it doesn't.
You're also advocating for a Super League where you can spend unlimited amounts of money. So it basically just goes to show that you'd all like to have the money of City.
Of course.
We'd all love to break financial fair play rules and then find some legal loophole to say.
Yes, we all would. But
only one team managed it.
Why should City have the monopoly?
The ones that are owned by countries.
Yes, exactly, Neil. Exactly, Neil. Why should City have a monopoly of breaking financial fair play, have all money to spend, buy 10 defenders, they don't work out, cast them aside and buy 10 more?
we all want that. We all want to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yes.
It'll make it fairer as well. I mean, for me, my closing comment is I'm hoping that Mane and Salah are not as wasteful as they have been over the past few games. I'm hoping that they convert more than they've actually converted over the past few games.
And Neil, I hope Arsenal would have Mane and Salah to waste those chances. And that means we're getting chances.
No, but we waste too many. Seriously, those two waste too many chances. You know, even they both missed a sitter. You know, they both missed a tap in. How can you miss that?
I can complain, Neil. I'm sorry, Neil. I can't feel any empathy for you. I can complain, okay?
Oh, come on, man. Somebody must. Come on.
No. So, gentlemen, have a lovely weekend. We'll see you all again, hopefully this time next week. Salute.
Have a good one, gents.
Bye, guys.